So that's really one of the biggest sources of estrogen chemicals in most people's daily exposures is the personal care products, from the shampoos to the soaps. I mean, this stuff goes through your skin. So even though you think you're washing it off, these chemicals prefer to stay on your skin and eventually absorb through the skin. So a huge amount of people's personal care products, across America are just garbage. They really need to get rid of them.
Hello, Awaken Beauties. Finally, it's here. The truth to empower women to true inner beauty through a healthy mind and inner biology. I am your hostess, Cassandra Keogh, a 20-year salon owner, organic beauty product formulator, positive mind management, and clinical hypnotherapist. And I am here to help you stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back. Sponsored by evokebeauty.com. evoqbeauty.com. Now, let's get to it. All right, ladies, if you're looking for healthy hair, beautiful skin, and a calm, quiet, clean, collected, powerful mind with superior CBD, go to evokebeauty.com. That's evoqbeauty.com. And you'll receive 25% off your very first order with the code AWAKEN. Again, that's evoqbeauty.com. Use the code AWAKEN for 25% off your first order. Alrighty. So welcome to the Awaken Beauty Podcast. I am Cassandra, your organic beauty, positive mind management, and clinical hypnotherapist. And today we have all things about hormones, endocrine disruptors, aging, and how even our endocrine disruptors or outside exogenous things even inhibit our brain productivity. And if you listen to the Awaken Beauty Podcast, you are a woman in pursuit of high quality thoughts, beauty, and lifestyle products. And you also are probably aware that we are exposed to hundreds of chemicals every single day. In fact, to dial it in, studies show that we are exposed to over 500 synthetic chemicals every day within our very own homes. And one of the leading chemicals that wreaks havoc on our hormones and endocrine system is called Xenoestrogens. And our guest today matches my passion for awakening individuals at any point in their health journey to providing highly researched, vetted, and efficient optimal health and anti-aging solutions. So for over a decade, as you all know, I've been educating and creating beauty and wellness products before organic was the status quo of cool. And ladies, this goes far deeper than just clean products. So through a functional medicine lens, joining us today is Dr. Anthony J., who is a scientist, author, and leading expert on a wealth of topics, including xenoestrogens, epigenetics, and even stem cells. So in this episode, we're going to explore the macro and the micro on how our environment, diet, genetic expression, and endocrine disruptors affect the aging process and our health and even our brain. So, of course, we'll also leave you what to do with it. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit more about Dr. Anthony J. And not falling short of credibility, Dr. J is founder of AJ Consulting Company and a scientist at Mayo Clinic. And he offers incredible insights into your health and how to improve it with precision through high-level DNA testing, where he has actually experienced of analyzing the DNA of individuals from the NFL to U.S. Special Forces, MMA fighters, and hundreds of individuals seeking just peak health. So in addition, Dr. J is best-selling author of the book called Estrogeneration, and which we will be cracking open today. So let's go ahead and jump right in and welcome Dr. J to the Awaken Beauty Podcast. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Well, as a local here in Minnesota, it's
Mm-hmm.
starting to snow a little bit out here in Whitesetta. I'm not sure what
Mm.
it's like on your side of town, but
It's pretty dry still, but I've been looking forward to a
yeah,
little snow.
we've had a really beautiful season thus far. But I really was excited to reach out to you. One, that you're local. Number two, we have some like-minded biohacker friends, and just the really wealth of knowledge that you have and the experience that you have. So why don't we just jump in and get right into a lot of women. We're focused on functional medicine and hormones a lot on this podcast. And it's really great to have your perspective and your deep research, specifically around the book that you have called Estrogen Generation, which shares the progression, really, in my mind, about just a really sick nation and how we're passing this health crisis on to generations beyond us. So maybe we can jump in and kind of see like where your passion came from to write this book.
Yeah. Well, it really came because when I went to college in Florida, and during my orientation week, right off the bat, I'd get to college and they said, don't drink the water out of the tap unless you filter it because it has a lot of birth control. And I guess the municipal system, it's good at killing bacteria, it's good at killing viruses, terrible at filtering out these endocrine disrupting chemicals, including birth control. I mean, they just mentioned birth control, but it actually includes all the plastic chemicals and everything else, but I found that out later. So obviously I bought a charcoal filter, which is what they had recommended. And really, as I had gone through my development, biology major, chemistry minor, and then PhD, ultimately in biochemistry, it just was on my radar. And I realized nobody was talking about the range of all these chemicals. Some people were experts on just BPA, bisphenol A, which is an endocrine disruptor. It does act like estrogen in your body. Mm-hmm. But that's all they were an expert in, just BPA. But then there was other people, they were just an expert in phthalates. Mm-hmm. Or other people were just an expert in parabens. And all those different experts were saying the same thing. They were all saying how bad those things were, but nobody was saying, look, these are all doing the same thing. They're all acting like estrogen in our body. And that adds on top of these chemicals add on top of each other. And so it gets worse and worse as you add more and more of these chemicals. And so I had to write that book because of that. And also because I had kids and I didn't want my kids being exposed to this stuff. So I wanted to know personally.
Yeah. I mean, you have, I believe, 2 young girls. Is that correct?
3. Mm-hmm.
You have 3. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, so talk about, just a really personal hit on your heart and really understanding the impact. And I think between beauty and a lot of women are always trying to figure out, the next tactic or the next anti-aging, but we're really unaware of the compound effect of all of these different things. And starting with the home, right? I think that, just we can kind of jump into where are these different endocrine disruptors found. I think to start in the micro of our ecosystem every day, maybe we can talk about, how we can start to look at the direct effect of our health inside our home and where these endocrine disruptors, or better known as xenoestrogens, are really found and affect us.
Right. Well, certainly the drinking water, like I mentioned, and activated charcoal is excellent for removing that. So if you have a filter, you have to make sure it has activated charcoal, or sometimes they call it carbon, but generally that means activated charcoal. They just mislabel it. Mm-hmm. Because carbon could be anything. It could be diamonds, right? So filter your drinking water. Don't store waters or liquids in plastics, preferably. Certainly, people are going to do it. I was just traveling on an airplane. You're going to end up with some liquids in plastics, but you don't want to be doing that every day. Ideally, minimize your plastics. It's good for the environment. It's better for your body. These things do leach. And particularly when you're putting hot liquids in plastics, that's especially bad. But even room temperature, I'm not a fan. I don't like when people are putting plastics in room temperature. Again, every day. Once in a while, it's okay. That's not ideal, but you're just, it's our culture, our environment. So the alternative there is stainless steel or glass. Those are by far the best. Silicone is also good, like for baby bottles or something. You might need a straw or like a baby bottle nipple or something. Silicone is good. So I think plastics are a big one that, I see all around people's environments. Another one, of course, is personal care products. And this is where you're really an expert, because if you go to just Walmart and you buy the cheap personal care products, they're just full of all these estrogen chemicals. So that's really one of the biggest sources of estrogen chemicals in most people's daily exposures is the personal care products, from the shampoos to the soaps. I mean, this stuff goes through your skin. So even though you think you're washing it off, these chemicals prefer to stay on your skin and eventually absorb through the skin. So a huge amount of people's personal care products, across America are just garbage. They really need to get rid of them. Obviously, the good ones, are out there. They're available. So the trouble is most of the fragrances, they'll just use the word fragrance on the label, or they'll say perfume.
Yeah.
And again, like the cheap personal care products, that generally means estrogen chemicals, petroleum-derived estrogen chemicals that disrupt your natural hormones. And it's such a fine and delicate balance. It's a fairly easy thing to do. So personal care products, another big one in the daily environment.
Yeah,
and then there's other sources too.
Let's hold on that right there for a second, because I really want women to understand that, so as a hairstylist, right? So I can, and this is a really good lesson that I help women understand. So, we're very aware of, we can smell, like when I hold their hair up to their nose, you can smell the chemicals from the water that attach to the hair, the irons, it disrupts the palette that I'm coloring on. It makes it orange, all of these things. But to me, that's just a really direct example of how things leach from our water attached to our body, and then they don't let go. And even water filtration systems, and sometimes even if you're putting things through the pipes, it still picks up all of this residue. And so for women, and I think you'll agree, I mean, if we look at our water, right? So to your point, we've got birth control pills, but then we have the whole other slew of what's in our water. We hop in the shower, and just because we throw some software, water pellets in there and have like a cheap filtering system, things still get through. You're opening up your pores. So then you're putting on your phthalate-rich, favorite Bed Bath & Beyond. I think a lot of women are beyond that, especially ones that listen to this podcast. But like you said, the hidden phthalates, the hidden fragrances that don't have to be put on a bottle, which is natural fragrance, usually means there's something hiding in it. If you don't see like the clean list of actual essential oils that are in it, you get out of the shower, and between the shower and getting done with just your first steps of makeup, you've already put on approximately like 12 possible toxins of personal care products, from toothpaste, deodorant, lotions, you name it. So I think to your point, just to frame it up, like already between shower and just getting out of the shower and your first starting of the day, you've already exposed yourself, right? And then I love what you said of, these things don't just, get on the body. I mean, they land on the skin, and, they love fat. So they are on our skin, we eat them, and we just download them into our fat storage. So I think that's great. So we've got like the beauty products, and I think let's go ahead and name, I think a lot of women are aware, but just so that we can refresh the mind. So I have a list, and then you add to what I'm missing. So I've got phthalates, parabens. Mm-hmm. Another one that we don't see a lot is formaldehyde, which is a carcinogen. It's, it's found in hair dye and nail products. And even with all these women with the eyelashes, it's found in the adhesive. You have lead, mercury, and then DEA and MEA. So something for women is the MEA, which, basically are ethanolamine. This is the missing piece of ammonia-free hair color that is often found in natural hair color boxes at home, which is also a huge causation. And sodium lauryl sulfate and glycols and oxybenzone. All right, ladies, if you're looking for healthy hair, beautiful skin, and a calm, quiet, clean, collected, powerful mind with superior CBD, go to evokebeauty.com. That's EVOQbeauty.com. And you'll receive 25% off your very first order with the code AWAKEN. Again, that's evoqbeauty.com. Use the code AWAKEN for 25% off your first order. So tell us a little bit about the sunscreen issue. And, it's obviously 90% of aging is sun-induced. So tell us a little bit about sunscreen.
Yeah, there's a whole class of chemicals. Well, first of all, phthalates are actually a class of chemicals too. A lot of people think phthalates is just one thing, but it's actually a whole class. And so are parabens. Like there's methylparaben, there's propylparaben, there's butylparaben. And right. China, just so people know, China has stricter regulations on their parabens than we have here in the United States.
Wow.
So we have some terrible laws regarding these things, and the companies are behind the scenes pushing real hard against the politicians, so they make these things legal. In Europe, almost all of these chemicals are at least more strictly regulated or just straight up illegal.
Right.
But yeah, oxybenzone is in a class of chemicals called benzophenones.
Mm-hmm.
So oxybenzone is also called benzophenone 3, and they use it in sunscreens. So it's an estrogen, it's an endocrine disruptor. They did a study last year where they showed they did one application of sunscreen. And by the way, you go to Walmart and all the sunscreens have oxybenzone pretty much.
For sure.
So when I travel, sometimes I forget sunscreen and I fish outside. I'm really white. I have to use sunscreen or I get fried. It's really challenging because, you go there and you have to look through 20 or 30 products to try and find one without oxybenzone. But one application of sunscreen in this study that they did last year, and 7 days later, people's blood levels of oxybenzone were still above the government's own recommended safety limit. And our safety limit's kind of sad as it is. It's pretty low. It's like, it should be a lot stricter.
Yep.
So the fact that people were still above the limit 7 days later after one application of sunscreen is really scary. So it kind of tells you how much is in there and how much is going through your system.
That's exactly it. So have you done much research around even mineral blocks and mineral sunscreens and the danger of nanoparticles in that area?
I haven't, no, but I think zinc is the way to go, but exactly which form of zinc, it's challenging.
Yeah, so I found, with minerals, and we use La Belladonna. And so La Belladonna is actually one of the first companies out there. And they actually created a rock-based mineral line to calm down irritation and inflammation in the skin after all these women were getting laser treatments done when this first started up, right? So another thing to really look out for, what I found, and I'll just share with you and the women here, is that a lot of mineral sunscreen, like the actual powders, they'll have nanoparticles in them. And so women are like, oh, my makeup is always I lose it through the day. Well, there's studies found that mineral makeup actually leaks into the skin because they try to get it so small that it actually is a nanoparticle, which leaks into the skin and also has other ingredients in it with these fillers, with powders. And so ours is something to look for is how it's milled. So it's triple milled, which creates a biomimetic weight on it that doesn't allow it to go through the skin. So a trick is with your mineral powders, put it into water. And if it floats down to the skin or through the water, it's probably getting in your skin. So to definitely look for the oxybenzone, 100%. Stuff is so toxic, let alone your children. Think about little kids. If it's found, like you said, 7 days later in the bloodstream, I can only imagine these little ones, right?
Exactly. And it's in the laundry detergent also. Companies like to brag about it. They put it in laundry detergent and they say that, look, our laundry detergent is protective against ultraviolet. And what they're doing is they're putting sunscreen chemicals. Yeah. They're putting the same chemical, oxybenzone. And they since that occurs all the time with these big companies that make laundry detergent, they've done studies on dermal absorption through the clothing. So they have clothing that they wash in these detergents, just conventional laundry detergents, and then they look at how much oxybenzone you're getting from the clothing. And it's there, it's present. It's not a lot, it's not above the government's limit, so people kind of ignore it. Right. But I consider it a problem because if you're already drinking out of plastic and you're not filtering your water and you're putting on cheap personal care products and you have all these other things that are adding on to that estrogen burden,
yep,
then it's bad for you, even at little doses, to be honest, but you might even be above a safety limit if 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 or whatever equals 10, right?
Yep. Compound effect, all about it. So those are kind of some beauty. We talked about plastics. Let's talk about like the exogenous things that people don't think about in the environment of our home or what have you. Can you speak a little bit more about, we have a large issue with mold in our homes. Can you find these particulates in, live active mold residue and mycotoxins?
Exactly. Yeah, you sure can. And that's why when they have mold, in people's basements and they have these remediation teams that come in, they wear these hazmat suits because they don't want to breathe any of that stuff in. And some people are breathing low doses of that all the time for years and years. It's really problematic for their energy and for all kinds of issues. And mold secretes a chemical called zearalenone. Scientists just abbreviate it ZEA, zearalenone.
Okay.
Terrible word, honestly. They should make these words a lot simpler. But
right.
The fact is, this particular ZEA chemical acts like estrogen in our body. And so effectively, if you're either eating foods that have mold or if you're breathing in mold toxins from your basement or from behind your sink is leaking or whatever, again, it's an endocrine disruptor. And so hopefully people check behind their walls to some degree in their basements and things like that might be damp, or their sinks. You don't want leaking pipes. And even if it was leaking a year ago and it's not anymore, the drywall might have some mold, a particularly old drywall that's not mold resistant. And probably the bigger source and the bigger issue with the molds, honestly, is the foods, right? Because the grains that we have in our modern society are in these huge silos.
Great point.
And they end up with some moisture. It's inevitable. And again, going to the US standards, they're pretty pathetic. Yeah. And they allow a certain amount of mold, which is actually pretty high. And again, you find these mold toxins, you find ZEA in there. So you find this mold estrogen in the grains. A lot of people, I'm telling you, probably the biggest health impact people can have in their diet is just avoid grains.
No, 100%. I agree. And I had severe black mold poisoning. It was in my first organic salon, and we found it in the air conditioner. So in the summer, it was spewing out. And I look back at it and I'm like, so women know, right? So a lot of my stylists, they were young, fairly healthy. Every single one of them had a symptom. Some of them had psoriasis that they got. Some of them had bloody noses. So mold is a really, really tricky thing to know if you have it. Fatigue, like you said, are common symptoms, but found everywhere. And over 6 years, my body severely broke down and I had to completely leave that place. I demoed it in 2 weeks and, moved out to Wayzata. But it is so damaging to our health. And most people would not think about an endocrine disruptor found in our mold. But like you said, obviously Dave Asprey brought coffee, about mold and coffee and all of these things. So
right. And peanuts are a big one.
Yeah,
peanuts. I feel like the big three would be grains being number one, and then peanuts. Peanuts are another one, and then coffee, cheap coffee that's, again, just poorly processed. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Check. Okay.
Yep.
So now that we kind of see some of the big pieces to look for, I really want to jump into realistically the numbers and how it impacts both our health, and we don't really think about it, but accelerated aging process and our brain. And I know that you have mentioned, I believe in your book, that breast cancer rates are up 250% since 1980. Yep. And xenoestrogens, outside of just cancer and endocrine and or hormone-related cancers, things like PCOS and fibroids and fertility issues. So I think about women in the beauty industry. After 8 years, like your fertility risk go up 50%, your bladder cancer risk go up 50%. And this is because of hormone dysregulation. So hop into really like the hardcore, how it really does affect us so we can get serious about looking for these pieces in our health.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have a friend named Michael Skinner. He's a scientist out in Washington.
Okay.
He's given a TED Talk and stuff. And he raises about 3,000 mice at any given time, 3,000 to 5,000 mice, which is really expensive, but he tests some of these.
Expensive to raise mice?
Well, yeah, because they have all this red tape and the government makes you do all these so you have to hire you basically have veterinarians on staff and it's a lot of stuff, but
crazy.
But he tests some of these chemicals on his mice, like atrazine, this herbicide that acts like estrogen, and some of these mold toxins, and some of these other ones, parabens and BPAs. And it's amazing how easily he can trigger PCOS in his mice. It's almost like an immediate. He can bring it on just like that. So it's clearly causing that, in humans, I think, because it's just that's another one that's increased exponentially. As we bring these chemicals into different cultures, like the Philippines, their breast cancer rate went up to 500% after we introduced plastics and a lot of these other chemicals alongside them.
Wow.
So definitely those are health issues. And it's frustrating because how people have responded, at least with the breast cancer, is they just raise awareness. It's like they're just passing out pink ribbons and telling people to wear pink ribbons or wear pink clothing or whatever, and not actually talking about the actual cause of what's going on behind the scenes. Infertility, like you mentioned, there's also obesity, right? Because these cells or these chemicals store inside our fat cells, they stay in our body for a long time. So it's really difficult to get them out, but they also trigger your fat cells to store more fat. Mm-hmm. And that's a normal, it's a natural process, because when women get pregnant, estrogen goes way up. It's a natural thing. It's a good thing because our ancestors didn't always have food. So you basically tell your body to store more fat when you have that really, really high level of natural estrogen. Yeah. In case you're starving or something, then the fetus can still get energy from the fat. But of course, if you fool that system and you add these fake estrogens like BPA and parabens and all these other ones, these mold toxins, these herbicides, well, then you tell your body to store fat, because maybe there's a famine coming or something like that. Basically, you're communicating to your body that you're pregnant when you're not. And so you start storing fat, and it stores inside the fat cells, which is a really difficult paradox, right? You're telling your body to store more fat. You're putting the chemicals in the fat. It's hard to get them out of the fat.
It's almost like a side effect of birth control pills.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people.
Messaging.
Exactly. A lot of people put on a lot of weight after they start the birth control, and the doctors never tell them that. They oftentimes don't tell them any of the side effects. It's like vaccines. There's like these long lists of side effects, and nobody tells you any of them,
Right.
And at least people
especially
need to be
when
aware.
You have 3 ripe ones ready to enter the market with just 3 months of research. That'll be a really great human experience. What do you think?
Yeah, it's risky. It's very
risky. For you, listeners of Awaken Beauty Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Simply go to www.audibletrial.com/Awaken Beauty Podcast. That's www.audibletrial.com Awaken Beauty Podcast. Yeah, I know Bruce Bloomberg, he wrote the book, The Obesogen Effect. I think somewhere I read that endocrine disruptors have 1,000 times more stronger than your natural estrogen. And, the battle of the bulge is something that the diet industry it's like a $12 billion industry, right? And like what you're talking about, and people, if they read your book, it's like just taking this one element that has this ecosystem of all these environmental and personal and factors to them. Think about how your body could then start methylating and metabolizing correctly. That would make it would make it so much easier on the stress cell response for your body to be able to relax and let go of these stored fat xenoestrogen places.
And a lot of people hit weight loss plateaus. They lose a lot of weight initially. They cut grains or something, but then they plateau because they keep putting these chemicals in their body, and the fat cells just really are hanging on. They're really stubborn. Yeah. So to get through that last plateau, you really have to get these out. And by the way, sweating is excellent, but using the sauna is probably one of the best things, because they've done studies on people that have used the sauna, and they're barely urinating any of these chemicals out, but they're sweating a ton of them out. So you actually sweat out a lot more of these chemicals than you urinate.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite
fan.
sauna? I have a Sunlighten, and then I have a couple of the bulbs from Sauna Space. What saunas do you prefer?
Yeah, any sauna. I think people just need to get in the sauna. But yeah, I do like infrared because it gets in your body deeper, number one, but there's also side benefits from infrared itself. So you get the benefits of the heat, the sweating. Hopefully you're sweating when you use it, of course, for people. And then the infrared also increases nitric oxide and blood flow and has all these other benefits for your brain, for BDNF. It's amazing. It's really impressive, the list of benefits from infrared light, even if it's not heat and even if it's not a sauna. So you might as well combine them both, I think. And it's a win-win.
Yeah, all lights go off at night for me and all my sauna lights come on. So getting rid of that blue light and turn on the red. Yeah. And, anti-aging effects too, right? Turning on the mitochondrial production. And it's just everybody, you need a sauna. It's one of the best investments that you could make. So that kind of leads us into this kind of final phase is, where do they come from? How do they affect our health, which they absolutely do. And then how do we appropriately, I don't use that word lightly, excrete them from our body. And obviously, I believe in a lifestyle of detoxification, namely saunas and things, exercise, all of that, water. But tell us a little bit about how it messes with the DNA and the DNA expression, and then how we can, with the fat storage, how we can excrete them in different ways that we can test, not guess, and do more of the excretion safely.
Yeah, these estrogen chemicals are unique because, a lot of hormones in your body, you've got your cells, think of little round balls, they have little receptors sticking out. And a hormone goes by and those receptors grab onto that hormone. And it doesn't go inside the cell, it just grabs the hormone, and that triggers an effect inside the cell. It basically communicates in the cell, hey, we've got this hormone, and then there's an impact inside the cell. But sex hormones like estrogen and testosterone, and again, these fake estrogens, they can go right through the cell membrane. So they go into the cell and cause an impact. But not only that, our DNA also has a membrane. It has a nuclear membrane. So, our cells have a membrane. Not a lot goes into those cells, but these chemicals sure do.
Right.
But then the DNA, because your body really needs to protect that DNA because there's mutations and things like that potentially. You don't want lots of stuff interacting with your DNA. So it has its own membrane, and that membrane is really rigid. It's really stringent. It doesn't let things in. But the sex hormones go right through that. Testosterone, estrogen, fake estrogen, same thing. It go right in there, and it starts disrupting your actual DNA. And the problem with that, and there's marks on top of your DNA that get passed on to future generations. That's what epigenetics, that's technically the definition of epigenetics, marks on the DNA. And they get passed on. So really the scariest issue with these estrogen chemicals, these hormone disruptors, is the future impact on our children and the next generation and the next generation. I mean, Michael Skinner, going back to him at Washington with his 3,000 mice, he's found 4 generations of impact, and he only studies for 4 generations. He doesn't go to 5 and 6 and 7 because it's just too much money.
Yeah.
But 4 generations, he sees, like you're talking about PCOS, for example, he'll see that carried out 4 generations from just the exposure to the mother.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's the craziest thing, is that even when people clean up their act, oftentimes there's still ramifications. And obviously, you can do things to reverse that, and like the sauna and exercise and eating healthy and all that. And I mean, I'm a big proponent of genetic analysis as well, using 23andMe, of course, because some people have different flaws and some people are really strong in certain areas and really weak in other areas. I mean, everybody has genetic issues, right? I mean, nobody's perfect. And I want to find those issues because some people, they clear these estrogen chemicals pretty darn good, and some people are terrible at clearing them, for example. But there's other things too, like how do you deal with vitamin D, or how does your body handle carbs, and how does your brain handle carbs, and how does your brain handle heavy metals, or whatever. So I'm looking at all kinds of genes and trying to decipher, weak spots that people can work on in a precise way, instead of just giving global advice to everybody and saying, eat less grains or whatever, because I think that's good advice. But the more precise people can get, the more powerful it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we're at such, when I look at like genetics and genetic testing, even 4 years ago and how expensive it used to be, it is so universal and inexpensive, but you really want to have a professional like yourself who has, looked at thousands of tests, be able to really accurately look at this and help someone down. I mean, because if you just get this thing off the internet and you look at it and you try to understand it, you freak the shit out of yourself, right? Because you don't understand how to put all the pieces together and where to start. And I think that there's the DNA and the genetic testing, and then there's also having maybe a company. Do you do any hormone testing like the Dutch to see how your P450 pathways are moving and metabolizing, or do you just strictly, stick to DNA testing?
Yeah, I look at people's results if they have that.
Yep.
And I sometimes recommend it, or I recommend other blood tests, like in the example of vitamin D. If you've got terrible genes for vitamin D, I want to see that in the future. I want you to follow up and get vitamin D checks, every 6 months or whatever, until you've got that dialed in, or whatever your weakness is. So I'll look at it, but I generally, I don't do those things. I focus on the DNA because that's, my little expertise bubble.
Oh, it's a great expertise. I mean, it's just the precision that you can get out of DNA testing. It's, even though I'm a really good methylator, I'm not methylating correctly. So it allows me to understand, okay, where are the stop gaps in the way? And for me, I have been very estrogen dominant, and even though I have an organic salon and I've been doing this for 15 years, I still have things that leak in, right? So I think the DNA testing is a great kind of first place to be able to test and follow up with an expert like you and kind of be the detective, because it's really helpful. And it takes fear out, right? Because we're always fearful. Am I going to get cancer or what have you? It's not going to tell you those things, but it's going to give you a really good inkling of what you can do to be proactive versus reactive. So,
yeah, exactly. These tests, these online, these free reports that people get online, they'll have like 50 pages of, like you have 1.3-fold increased risk for this kind of cancer and a 1.4-fold increased risk for that kind of cancer, and just on and on.
Right.
And those are insane, because most of the time when they repeat those studies with larger groups of people for those genes, it doesn't hold up. There really is no risk. So a lot of times when you're looking at really tiny risks, it scares people because it looks like this long list of things, but in reality, most of it's meaningless. Most of it's not an issue. Yeah. So I want to focus on the big issues, the real issues, and find out the actual mechanisms and understand the root cause and how to prevent it. Similar to you in functional medicine, right? Not wait for symptoms and then prescribe drugs that shut down those symptoms, but actually figure out the root cause and address it there.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, 3-4 generations back, we are at a point in testing capabilities, going back to test, don't guess, on people are so worried. And I want to generalize here because I really want to speak to women's and men's heart of, may I suggest that we really start to understand the value of the upfront cost of getting your baseline with an individual like you that's able to partner with you, remove the fear, give you proactive things to work on, and then retest in different areas if you have to. But we're so stuck on, I need to find a practitioner within the medical-based system so that my insurance can cover it.
Right. And the insurance is, it's so infiltrated by the politicians and by the drug companies. And they have a lot of money. The drug companies, people don't realize they spend $20 in marketing for every $1 in research.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, most people don't realize almost all the drug company money, and those billions and billions of dollars, that's marketing money. So really, they push really, really hard in the medical system and with the insurance companies and the politicians and the American people too with the ads. It's getting ridiculous, right? I mean, you watch TV, which I don't do. I don't even have TV, but...
Me neither. Yeah. High five, buddy.
Yeah, right on. If you watch TV though, and every once in a while I'm at somebody's house and I see it, it's like every other commercial is a darn drug.
Like 10 seconds about the product and then 25 seconds about all the legal ramifications if you get our ass in trouble.
Exactly.
I just bring that up because I spend so much time trying to like hijack the system of finding a practitioner that then you can bring this test to and they can do that. And it's just like, if you just went to you, did your DNA testing and maybe had a hormone partner, the beautiful outcome off your peace of mind, your health, and like you said, the generations beyond, we have to start with ourselves first. We can't worry about our genetics of grandma, but we have to go with where we're at right now. And, we thousands of dollars spent into the health industry. If we could just get back to bare bones and be conscious of what we're purchasing, putting on our body, how we think, how we metabolize, all of these things. But I just really value the testing that you do. And I know my friend Susan Eden tested with you and she found out a lot why, on her journey of why certain things weren't working for her. So it gave her that piece of data that she could go then and work on, especially to your point about weight loss, why people can't lose weight. Well, there's specific reasons, could be toxins, could be some other things. All right, ladies, if you're looking for natural, organic, solution-based beauty and superior CBD, go to evokebeauty.com. That's EVOQbeauty.com and receive 25% off your very first order with the code AWAKEN. Again, that's EVOQbeauty.com. Type in the code AWAKEN for 25% off your first order.
Yeah. Precision is where it's at. I mean, it's so difficult because the social media, we have the social dilemma where people get in these little bubbles where all the messaging they're getting is vegan, or all the messaging they're getting is carnivore, or all the message is whatever, some specific thing. And if you try and step out of that, it's everybody chastises you and you get a lot of social pressure and things.
Yep. But
sometimes it's not that black and white, it's because we're all so different. We have these different genes. Certain diets work better for other people. It's not, there shouldn't be a government recommended diet because, if you put grains at the bottom of the pyramid and you tell people to eat mostly grains and then only a little bit of meat and only whatever, it's a terrible recommendation because there's a lot of people that can't eat grains, and I think most people shouldn't be eating grains, but even there's people that straight up can't, because they have celiac or something real extreme. So there's always that genetic variance. So diet is tricky.
Yeah. Again, personalized. Personalized precision is all where it's at. Yeah. The myopic view of the next quick hit is like the dopamine hit that you feel like you're doing something healthy for yourself, and just knowledge is like, I even talk about positivity porn and social dilemma. It's like, it's not really doing you anything but keeping the monkey brain going and thinking that you're doing something helpful. But the last piece I wanted to talk about was the supplements and specific supplements that you would recommend, if any. I know I've given a lot of IC3 and DIM to clients because I do some biofeedback testing. And I know that the DIY, women purchasing from collagen products to detox packets and all of these things. Can you give us a couple notes about what to look for and what to be aware of, specifically around DIM and some of these other, P450 liver opening cleansing pathways to get all of these endocrine disruptors out of the body?
Yeah. Diindolylmethane DIM, that's one I feel like people need to be careful with. They need to work with somebody like yourself because if you take too much, it actually acts like estrogens, which is ironic. And so the dosing is touchy, and a lot of people just kind of willy-nilly go about it. And it's a tricky one. I think a lot of these are tricky because, because number one, some people have crazy exposures to a lot of chemicals. Some people aren't exposed at all. They've cleaned up their act and really, they're doing a great job. And so those doses are going to be different. There's a lot of customization. Yeah. And that's true, I think, of all the vitamins. And because again, it goes back to genetics, right? If your vitamin D pathways are amazing, you can in Minnesota here, we still probably have to supplement vitamin D in the winter, but not that much. But if you got terrible genes for vitamin D, you have to take quite a lot. And I mean, the government recommends like 400 IUs or something. That's ridiculous. You have to take like 5,000 usually.
Totally.
So
some MK7 to match it. So you're actually
exactly. Take the K2. Yep.
Yeah. And, it's kind of like, this, if women aren't aware, the DIM and the IC3 or which one, it's like you look these things up on the internet, you're like, oh yeah, like I need that. Right. And,
right. It gets expensive.
More is less. It does get expensive. And I usually don't give DIM if I'm not giving IC3 because you kind of have to unpackage it and allow it to become water soluble. But to your point about everything being stored in the fat, and I find a lot of detoxes, and I don't know if you agree with this, but there's just it's such a strong push system. Like I use Cellcore Biosciences now because I spend a whole month on educating when they're on the supplement that we just need to open up your channels because chances are they're not efficiently open. So just opening up the detox channels and also DIM. So food, right? So just eat some broccoli.
Right? Cauliflower. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, like I'm less of an expert than you are on this. I feel like magnesium is probably a big one too, because
100%.
Most Americans are straight up deficient in magnesium. Our soil systems are so bad. They're so depleted. The farmers, they're putting phosphorus and nitrogen back in with these fertilizers, but they're stripping out all these micro minerals that we need, like magnesium especially. And after 20 years of that, which is where we're at, it's a problem. And that's one, irrespective of your genetics, I feel like everybody should get on the magnesium. That helps a lot of those pathways.
Yeah, I so agree with you. I think it's like 138 different catalysts that magnesium helps in the
at least.
body.
Yeah, it's really in there. Yep.
Magnesium is definitely on the list. So yeah, and I think another, vitamin C is really good. It's a really good antioxidant and kind of helps all the pathways as well. But if we go back to kind of closing it up, your beautiful, beautiful book, which I highly recommend, and I'm purchasing it for our lovely waiting area in the back where women process with their hair. Is there anything else in the book that you want to share that I've personally missed? And I just can't thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Oh yeah, no, I felt like we covered a lot of the big picture things. There's a lot of details, of course, in there. And a lot of people find it really disturbing, but it's just the way our culture is. It is disturbing. Right. And so I tried to make it really readable for normal people, not really technical and boring. In fact, when I talk, I'm usually more technical than when I write because I made a real effort in that book to make it simple for people to understand. I've never gotten the complaint where people said, oh, this is too challenging. It's too scientific. It's too technical. Never once have I gotten that complaint, at least.
That's huge for writing a book. I think like the average reading level in America is 8th grade reading level. And I often forget that. So that's a huge compliment.
Well, that and science is a different language, right? It's like Spanish. I mean, my thesis was technically on CD36 binding the oxidized LDL receptor and uptake with, monounsaturated fatty acids or whatever. Like that's all Spanish to people, right?
Right. Yeah, just like the list of chemicals in your products.
Exactly.
That's for DEA, TAA, DES.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a different language. So if people don't go to school and learn that language, I understand. Like I get it. You shouldn't have to learn Spanish in order for me to communicate the ideas.
Yeah.
And so that was the goal, is to say, look, let me compile all these chemicals, put them into a top 10 list, the daily exposures every single day.
Yeah, totally.
So, but yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I feel like,
yeah, and I don't want to leave out men. I mean, the obesogens, right? It's like the man boobs, men. If you don't want man boobs, men. It also is, endocrine disruptors also cause infertility from men. I mean, I think we often dismiss women having the infertility problem, but it's really damaging for men's fertility. Sperm
testosterone goes way down.
Testosterone, absolutely. And so there's those pieces.
Prostate cancer. Yeah, there's a lot. Mm-hmm.
We always focus on the women, but men really, I think, are starting to wake up. But, definitely.
Yeah, it's the testosterone is the best topic for men because they respond to that topic.
Totally. Absolutely. Going down.
Yep.
So the last thing that I always ask my guests on the Awaken Beauty podcast is, what have you personally awakened to in your life as of late?
As of late, boy, I mean, I'm tempted to go launch into something related to COVID, but
it can be anything. The question is the answer. I
think I would say the Aura Ring was one that was really interesting for me because I have terrible sleep.
Yeah.
And my dad still has really poor sleep. I just grew up in an environment with poor sleep, like a nightlight right in my eyes all night long. And my dad, he stays up till 4 a.m. and gets up at like 8 a.m. and he's a medical doctor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So really bad sleep hygiene and bad genetics too for sleep.
Yep.
And so the Aura Ring, I don't know if you've heard of this Aura Ring. It's like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's got infrared sensors. So it's not a watch. I don't like wearing watches when I sleep. And it's just phenomenal for tracking my deep sleep and my REM sleep. And then tinkering with things like magnesium or other things that really improve it. I've just had a dramatic improvement in my sleep. So that's probably the thing I would jump on there.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, the Aura Ring's great. I mean, Whoop is also getting a lot of good feedback with the HRV, and I've been interested in that. I can't do the ring because I'm always in water and like cutting hair, and I don't.
Well, I only wear mine at night.
Yeah.
I charge it all day, and I found my second one actually. The first one only lasted me about 6 months because I would wear it all the time.
Oh wow!
And I straight up wore the battery out.
Yeah.
But the daytime data from the daytime I never used. I never really looked at it. I didn't really care. So the second one I bought.
Take 15,000 more steps.
Yeah, the steps. I don't care.
Ever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, sleep is huge, right? Going back to detoxing, letting our brain detox at night. I also struggle with sleep and kind of had a kind of icky environment too, like when I was young. And so my mom and I would take Tylenol PM every single night to put ourselves to sleep. And it's been somewhat of an issue that I've not gotten rid of. And I formulate with CBD, and we put a really, really high powered terp with strictly CBN. And that thing knocks me out, and I have been free of all of those other things. Obviously, magnesium and phosphatidylserine to turn down the cortisol at night, and all those things help. But again, to your point, DNA test, see what's going on, so that you can get your body back into balance, cell balance, right? So, yeah. Awesome, Jay. Well, I love it. Thank you so much for coming on the Awaken Beauty podcast and sharing your wealth of knowledge. And so where can we find you?
ajconsultingcompany.com. That's my main website. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. And you have a great Instagram channel, so you can find him there as well. And make sure that you get his book, which is Xenoestrogens. Estrogeneration.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't roll off the tongue. Yeah.
And then ajconsultingcompany.com, my friends. All right. Jay, thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge. And for all of you lovely Awaken Beauties, thank you so much for following the podcast. And make sure if you're looking for xenoestrogen, an endocrine disruptor, absolutely free beauty and health products and CBD, go ahead and go to evokebeauty.com, which is EVOQbeauty.com. Make sure you find Jay, Dr. Jay. And until next time, stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back. All right, ladies, if you're looking for natural, organic, solution-based beauty and superior CBD, go to evokebeauty.com. That's EVOQbeauty.com and receive 25% off your very first order with the code AWAKEN. Again, that's EVOQbeauty.com. Type in the code AWAKEN for 25% off your first order. Well, hello, Awaken Beauty. Thank you so much for joining the show today. Were you inspired? Please leave a comment or your own personal aha moment so others can capture exactly what you did. Also, please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're interested in high quality natural products for your hair, skin, and wellness, including organic, CBD, please visit evokebeauty.com. Again, that is evokebeauty.com, evoqbeauty.com. And until next time, darling, stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back.